Hello and welcome to the video. Today we will be talking about hair growth rates in Black people, the undiluted truth. Since I have been involved in hair care, I have been very interested in hair growth, particularly fast hair growth. And judging by Black women's obsession with hair growth aids, so are many of you. Of course, I'm sure that the biggest reason we love hair growth aids is because we find it easier to believe that a product is actually responsible for hair growth rather than anything as boring as a good hair care regimen. So we continue to be taken in by marketing ploys with action terms like super growth or crazy growth to encourage us to purchase products pertaining to make our hair grow faster, thicker, or longer. When it comes to length retention, majority of Black women's problems are caused by inadequate hair care techniques that encourage breakage instead of encouraging length. But why, even after we have adopted healthy hair techniques, do some of us continue to have slow growth and again have to turn to hair growth boosting products? Is it impatience, or is there something to the slow hair growth argument? Recently, I had a discussion with a hairstylist of note about hair growth rate in general. She stated that healthy hair grows at a rate of half an inch per month, and any less indicated hormonal problems in the individual. Naturally, I vehemently disagreed with that statement, and here I'd like to show you why. Let's talk about average height. Yes, I would like to start off by talking about average height in humans. It may seem unrelated, but stay with me. Average height has been a moving target since the beginning of recorded history. In auxology, the study of height, you learn that height is a measure of the health of populations, where the average is measured in those who share genetic background and environmental factors. In essence, even though the quality of nutrition that you get will affect your height, other factors like genetics and environment also come into play in determining the height of an individual. For example, the Nilotic people of Sudan are described as some of the tallest in the world, which is an adaptation to their environment. However, when these individuals go through warfare where malnutrition is rife, their offspring will suffer from stunted growth and be unable to grow as tall as their ancestors. The pygmies of Central Africa, on the other hand, are unusually short, with male height being below 4 feet 11 inches. While various theories have been proposed to explain their short stature, it appears that it's a combination of genetics and an adaptation to their environment that causes this phenomenon, as there's not much evidence to suggest that malnutrition applies to them. The point that I'm trying to make is that even though height can be a measure of health across populations, it's probably best judged in people of a similar genetic background and environment in the absence of malnutrition. As it relates to Black hair growth. When it comes to hair growth in people of African descent, you may be surprised to learn that very little has actually been studied or published. The British Journal of Dermatology 2001 on African hair growth parameters states in a study it conducted, hair growth parameters have been studied mostly in Caucasian hair, whereas few data on African hair have been reported in the literature. The purpose of the study was to evaluate the hair growth characteristics of individuals born in Africa. Here were the results. Hair density varied from 90 to 290 hairs centimeters squared, with higher counts on the vertex. No significant difference between men and women was recorded. Telogen percentage showed wide variations from 2 to 46%, with higher levels on the temporal area in men. The rate of growth fluctuated from 150 to 363 micromillimeters daily, with no difference related either to gender or to scalp region. These data were compared with those previously obtained in Caucasian volunteers of comparable age and showed significant differences between the two ethnic groups in all three parameters studied. Hair density in African volunteers was lower than in Caucasians. African hair grew at a much slower rate than Caucasian hair, and telogen counts were frequently higher in African hair. A quick explanation of this as it relates to hair growth only. So, in essence, the original hair growth rate of 150 to 363 micromillimeters calculated over 365 days in a year would equate to a range of 54,750 to 132,495 micromillimeters a year. In other words, it is 2.1 to 5.2 inches of hair growth in a year. That would make the average growth of the group recorded to be 3.65 inches of hair in a year. They concluded that this study demonstrated significant differences between African and Caucasian hair growth parameters, which might suggest a trend towards increased hair loss in Africans, even though it contrasts with a lower and slower incidence of the development of alopecia in Africans. If you enjoyed this video, then please give us a like, and a sub to the channel would be amazing too. Now, back to the video. It's also important to note that even though the individuals studied were born in Africa, they were actually living in Paris at the time of the study and were healthy and free of systemic or cutaneous disease. In this case, malnutrition would have been unlikely to have been a major influence on the outcome. Of course, the rate of hair growth in 19 African individuals is unlikely to be considered the standard for all Africans, or in fact, all people of African descent. More than anything, this study shows a glaring inadequacy in the range of data which is covered in the study of cosmetology today. Hair growth rate notwithstanding, a lot of what is taught to cosmetologists is based largely on Caucasian hair, which in and of itself could be a problem if the person studying it will be dealing mainly with black hair, and as such, many of the facts learned may have very little to do with our hair. So, what is a healthy hair growth rate? Back to the hair growth question. There are some major factors that can affect how fast your hair grows as an individual. These include, number 1, health. This covers diet, which depends on the environment in which you grow up and currently live in, as well as lack of disease. Number 2, age. Hair growth rates decrease as we age. Number 3, genetics. This is the rate set by heredity and gene expression. In the absence of disease or hormonal deficiencies, the 3 factors above play the largest role in how fast your hair grows. The best conclusion that we can pull from the aforementioned study is that hair growth rate, like human height, varies widely across cultures. It would be great to see more studies done to confirm the extent of the diversity. The half-inch per month growth rate that is commonly touted as the healthy hair growth rate is nothing more than an average rate of growth based on studies across a number of countries and cultures, but it may not be a true representation of what is healthy or natural for every individual. When it comes to hair growth rate, many Black people in Western countries may have mixed heritages in their ancestry, and that combined with being nutritionally better off. I'm sure if this study was conducted in people born and raised in the US, there would be a greater variety in hair growth rates as compared to the study we looked at. Still, there are those with naturally slower rates of hair growth who may feel discouraged because their hair doesn't grow as fast as those around them, and assume that there's something wrong with them. The only factor that we have direct control over, as it pertains to our hair growth rate, is our health. If you're sure that you're free of disease, eating healthy is the next most important thing that will affect your hair. You literally are what you eat. In conclusion, the average height of all American women is 5 foot 4.5 inches. But it would be patently wrong to say that if you are taller or shorter than this, then you probably have health problems. So, the idea that half an inch of hair growth per month is a healthy rate of growth is flawed because there is no standard measurement of health that encompasses all of humanity. My hair has always grown at the rate of 4 inches a year, and I am free of disease or hormonal deficiencies. In fact, the women in my family appear to share a similar hair growth rate, so clearly 4 inches a year is normal and healthy for me. Yet, I managed to achieve waist-length hair in under 5 years anyway. So, if you are healthy but your hair grows slowly, take heart that there may be nothing wrong with you, but you will have to adjust your hair regimen to accommodate your slow growth rate so that you will be able to reap the benefits and grow your hair long anyway. All the best in your hair journey.